And we're live. Welcome to Book Chat Book Club. I'm Julie Coulter-Balon, and I'm here with Samantha Hastings today. And I am so excited to talk to her because I loved her book, Secret of the Sonnets. And I have 100 questions to ask her. Of course, we won't get to all of them, but hopefully we'll get to the good ones, right? Well, I wanted to start off by reading her biography or bio. Samantha Hastings met her husband in a turkey sandwich line. I would love to hear more about that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, it was staff day, and it was a really long line because everyone else, I guess, picked turkey. No one picked, and you had your color of sandwich was your tag, so you couldn't go into a shorter line, like the ham or the roast beef. And at the very end of the line was this really cute guy, and he was making a joke. And I don't know if he was even the end of the line, but I just stopped and I smiled at him. I think I might have butted in front of some people. But I was like, he's cute, and that's how we met. We both worked for Salt Lake County Library. Looks like it's lagging a little bit. Looks like sorry. I hope it's not my end.
Here now?
I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
Samantha, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you. Sorry, we kind of just paused for a second.
Okay, are we back? Can
We're
you hear
back.
me now? We're back. Okay, good. Whew. I hate technical difficulties, and we were doing so good. All right. So you met your husband in the sandwich line. You live in Salt Lake City, where she spends most of her time reading, eating popcorn, having tea parties, and chasing her 4 kids. She has degrees from Brigham Young University, University of North Texas, and University of Reading, UK. She writes cozy murder mysteries under Samantha Larson, which I was also really excited to find out about because I loved your style. I loved your style of
Oh,
writing.
thank you.
All right. So tell me about your tea parties that you have. I was like, wow, you don't hear that in an author bio very often.
My grandma's both collected teapots and teacups, and it must be hereditary. So I have them with friends all the time. Especially Christmas or Halloween, we do a lot of witches' tea parties, and I make everyone dress up like a witch. The little girls like that almost as much as the moms. Moms really like being witchy. Um, and I just different types of tea. Orange is my like orange spice is my favorite, but I've tried so many. Do you have a favorite tea?
No, I can't think of a favorite. I don't drink a lot of tea, so I don't know very much about them. But did you live in London and do like tea time
I
and
did,
stuff like that?
yeah. Close to London. It's pronounced Reading instead of reading. But I was a
Oh, okay.
librarian for so long that I just say reading now. Um, but yeah, Reading, and so we went to London all the time. While my roommates drank Tetley tea, but I just drank herbal tea.
Right, right. I'm a big hot chocolate person. I like raspberry hot chocolate.
I
Now
love
I'm gonna have to try some of these that you
yes,
mentioned.
hot chocolate's amazing with whipped cream, especially.
I know, right? Well, and the hot chocolate bombs they have now, I love those. Those are such a genius idea.
I
Well,
do too.
tell me
They're so
about your
rich.
publishing journey. I know it's kind of been a twisty journey.
It is
Yeah.
definitely an odd one. Thank you for asking. My first 3 books were with Spoon Reads, which is a imprint of Bible and Friends, which is an imprint of Macmillan. And Spoon Reads is kind of an interesting site. They've actually shuttered that imprint now, but at the time you could post your whole manuscript and people could give feedback. And if the editors liked it, they would offer you a contract. And I I did that, and I did 3 with them, and it was wonderful, but they kind of decided to go in a new direction. They've shuttered that imprint, and so I kind of had to do a 180. And so I've gone into adult and cozy murder mystery. I've published a few indie, and then we mentioned the cozy murder mystery. It's actually under my maiden name, Samantha Larson. So they wanted a different name. So I have a couple books with Covenant. I have books with Harlequin. So yeah, kind of an odd publishing combo.
Yeah, for sure. So you write in two different genres. Do you have a favorite?
Um, they're technically two different genres, but they're not as different as you think because my murder mystery is a historical, and so and it's a cozy, which is kind of my niche. Um, and so I majored in history, I majored in English, and I just love them both. Um, the mystery has to be like the main hit in a mystery book, and then obviously the romance has to be the main part in a romance book. And it's kind of fun to focus on different things because sometimes you get tired of both. I love humor, so I almost always have at least one funny character or a character who doesn't know they're funny, but they are funny.
Yeah. So is the Duchess contract still free? I
Yes, I
know
was going to say,
that.
I don't know if I have a bookmark with me. Yeah, it's just free on any platform. Um, I can send you the books to whatever link, but it's free on every platform, and it's kind of perma free. So if you ever want to try me out, it's only um, it's only 20K, so it's just a little novella, but it's free. And actually, my Harlequin that comes out here, it's like so teeny here. In February is in the same family. So it's called The Marquis and the Runaway Lady.
The Duchess, the
You're kind of breaking up again. I hope it's not me. I'm sorry.
no, I can still hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard the Duchess, but it kind of skipped. Now I can hear you again. Sorry.
Oh, oh my word. I haven't had technical difficulties like this in a long time.
Oh no. I hope it's not my end. I don't know if it is.
Okay, are we back?
We're back.
Okay, maybe I better ask the questions faster. Mara, can you hear us now? All right. So the Harlequin books, I'm guessing, are on their clean line.
It's sweet. I mean, there's no bedroom scenes. The kisses are really good though, but there's no swearing or bedroom.
Well, I loved your little novella. That was so cute with the whole, trying to kidnap the lion. Not
I thought that was fun too. It was just such a fun one to write.
You do
It
humor
was
really
part
well,
of
I
the
think.
anthology, and they said it had to include an animal, and everyone I was sure was going to do a horse or a dog or a kitten, and I thought I'm doing a lion.
That was so fun and so original. All right, let's talk about Secret of the Sonnets. How did you come up with the idea for that?
Like we mentioned before, I went to school at the University of Reading a long time ago. And one of my professors told a story about how this older woman wouldn't give money to Oxford unless they exhumed Shakespeare's grave and found his missing manuscripts. And I thought that was the craziest thing that she thought that, I mean, it must have been a great deal of money because she seemed to think they'd do it for her. And I was just like, well, what happened to these manuscripts? Why don't we have anything beyond a few scraps of signatures? And so that really got my mind twirling and just trying to understand what would have happened to them or how could we find them.
Awesome. Shakespeare, because you have so much of him and his quotes peppered through the conversations. I mean, the banter and defending their positions using Shakespearean quotes. Did you have to do a ton of research, or do you just know Shakespeare that well?
A little bit of both. I kind of explain in the back of the book. I wrote my master's dissertation on Shakespeare, and so I knew a lot of them. And also, when you're a teenager, like the insults come very quickly. You're really good at memorizing those, and less good at memorizing like the important bits that you need for a test. But
Yeah.
especially I love Much Ado About Nothing, and so that one I could use the quote on my own because I just love that one.
That is a
And
good
Hamlet, I
one.
think's an
Do you
idiot,
like
but I still support it. I'm
do
sorry.
you have a favorite movie adaptation of it?
Probably the Kenneth Branagh one with just even though there's the weird start, not sure what that has to do with anything, but I just think it's so joyful, and the music by
Yeah.
Patrick Doyle is incredible. How about you?
Yeah, that's my favorite too. I mean, there's so many great actors in that one, and yeah, that's just really good adaptation in my opinion. Kenneth Branagh
Yeah.
did a ton of good ones,
Oh
didn't
yes,
he?
he was on fire.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, I have to know, do you believe Shakespeare was the author of all of his plays and works attributed to him?
That is such a great question. The whole point of my dissertation, and I did write it a long time ago, was that it didn't matter. That Shakespeare at least was an entity for us, whether it's Kiss Me Kate, whether it's She's the Man, or whatever adaptation it is. Shakespeare has kind of become its own character because we know so little about him that we've kind of created this persona that we believe is him. But like I say in the back of my book, the first biography was written 100 years after his death. His houses were destroyed. I'm not sure how much we really know. I don't necessarily think he's Sir Francis Bacon or Edward de Vere, who was one of the big one they say because he was the Earl of Oxford, and his family's motto is he who shakes a spear, and so they thought Shakespeare was him because he was educated, and William Shakespeare was not. Formally, he probably would have gone to a local school. An interesting thing as well is that Shakespeare in Stratford upon Avon has absolutely no connection to the Shakespeare in London until his will, and the pen is in a different ink. And so I can understand why there's all these crazy conspiracy theories. It's like, how are these two guys the same guy? And where are those manuscripts? Where are those papers?
Yeah.
So I think it's
Well,
fascinating. I don't think it matters, though.
I got to visit on Avon, and supposedly in his like birthplace or whatever, that they had a bed that he was born. Telling me I didn't really see the bed Shakespeare was born in.
If you've been to his house, everything is a not reenactment. What's it
Replica.
called? A replica. There's nothing's original at that house. If you want to see original,
What?
actually, and the Hathaway house has originals in it, including the Hathaway bed. But Shakespeare's house, Shakespeare's birthplace, was really run down. If you can look at pictures, and there's like cows in front of it and broken windows in the 19th century. It was really run down at one time, and so everything of value, I think, had long been gone. The house he built was already destroyed. So it's one of those interesting things. The house itself, the coolest part of the house, I'm sure you saw, was the name scratched on the window pane. Did you see those? And you're like, oh, well, there's John Keats.
Yeah.
Hi, John. So that was really cool. So they didn't ruin those, but yeah, all the furniture there is replicas, and so you're like, oh, not quite as awesome as I wanted it to be.
I did like Anne's house though. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah. And the Hathaway bed,
So
I
did
actually
you?
mentioned it in the book, it's still there. So
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Well, and I was kind of wondering. So, Secret of the Sonnets is kind of like this cool Shakespearean treasure hunt. Like quite a few places. You visit those places?
yeah, when I lived there, it's much easier to take a half an hour train than it is to fly and go check them out. Um, but I think you also have to imagine what it was like 200 years before. And like I said, I saw a picture of Shakespeare's house where it was totally trash, and there was like a cow eating right next to the window, and you're like, wow, they didn't. He wasn't as esteemed as he is now. Um, and kind of that's the whole purpose of my dissertation was he wasn't a big name in the 17th century. He was considered to be a lesser poet than Ben Jonson, and he had kind of his sonnets were actually kind of murdered by John Benson because he combined a lot of them together and given them new names. And so it wasn't until the 1780s when Edmund Malone, who of course dies in my book at the beginning, actually said, "Oh no, there's the 1609 Quarto, and we've got to follow that." And so this idea that for over 100 years he was kind of forgotten or neglected, I think makes me realize that he wasn't always as great as he is now, shall we say.
Yeah. Yep, that is so true. Do you have a favorite sonnet of his for your own personal favorite?
Of course, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when an alteration finds, or bends with its remover to remove. Oh no, it is the ever fixed mark that looks on tempest and is not shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark. I'll keep going. Sonnet 116.
I am impressed. I
Thank you. I
am
actually
so
memorized it when I was a
impressed.
teenager. It was in
Let me
Sense and
ask you.
Sensibility.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, you're cutting out for me a little
No,
bit. Say that
you're
again.
cutting out. Sorry. It was in Sense and Sensibility, and that's when I first loved it with Kate Winslet.
With Kate Winslet.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a big Jane Austen fan as well?
Oh yes, I did go to her where she was buried at Winchester Cathedral, and I was like, Jane, she probably would make fun of me though. If you read her letters, she's sharp. She probably would. She'd probably rip me to shreds. But I absolutely love her. And then I went to the Austin Center in Bath, and I was so disappointed to realize it's actually not where she lived. It's a few houses down. But the houses are all kind of built the
Oh, I
same, so
didn't
I think
know
it's the same
that.
window. Yeah, they had some cool stuff there. I won't want to rag on it. I was just a little disappointed that it wasn't actually. And then you see where she lived, and there's like this placard. She lived here, but this is someone else's house, so don't bug us, pretty much. And the same thing in Winchester. Yes, Jane Austen lived here, like this historical marker, but do not knock on our door. We live here. And I thought, how awkward that would be to be like
Oh,
people staring at your house all the time.
yeah, that would be awkward. But then you live in a really cool place, so it's a little understandable. But yeah, probably you don't want hundreds of people knocking on your door.
I didn't knock, but I walked by surreptitiously. Are you a Jane Austen
Did
fan?
you hear something in Boston touch? Yes.
Awesome.
We just took our kids to Pride and Prejudice at the Hill Center Theater, and I just wanted to, expose them to something so awesome and amazing. And I asked my little 12-year-old boy at the end what part he liked the best, and he said Mr. Collins.
He's a comedic character. He's comedic relief.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I love that about your book too, is you had just a lot of, witty banter and a lot of humor. I mean, Alice, who couldn't love Alice the servant? I mean, she was funny, but so charming. I mean, you really could relate to her and some of the things that she said. Will she ever get her own story? A little novella even?
I don't know. I hadn't thought of that yet. I guess it's so funny because you read these books and you always think I'm Elizabeth Bennet, and then after a while you're like I'm Charlotte Lucas or I'm Alice. Like I think I'm the Miranda, but most likely I'm the awkward person following behind. I just loved her heart though, and that she got a, that she always her heart was always in the right place.
Exactly, exactly. And she was so bumbling yet helpful in the same. I mean, she was, I don't know, there's just a lot of good things about her. And I loved how, your Miranda was such a strong character, but still vulnerable. I mean, she was smart in a time when women weren't supposed to be smart. And I love that Robert accepted that about her and didn't make her feel bad about, being a blue stocking or knowing more about Shakespeare than him. Because I think that some men back in those days, as we found out, of course, did you have to, how long did it take you to write Secret of the Sonnets?
Um, so I wrote my first draft in 2013, and it's been through a lot of drafts.
Oh,
I know it, and I think I started with 50,000 words. I got all the way to 80,000, and then I ended up taking some back out. And I think I love the integral story, but originally, and that's the great thing with beta readers and other people giving feedback. Originally, the antagonist wasn't really worthy of Miranda's intelligence, and so making him a former suitor, someone who actually is her intellectual equal was kind of what I needed to make a little more snappy. Um, and I also think just rewriting is how you get better, unfortunately. But I love the story, so I kept coming back to it and just trying to figure out what I needed to do to fix it.
do you think he'll ever release any of the deleted scenes for your super fans?
That is such a great point. I actually am gonna do two of the scenes for February's newsletter. So I sent out a monthly newsletter. My website is just samanthahastings.com, and it just says newsletter at the top. And I just send once a month, but I am going to send two chapters that were deleted that are actually, I love them, but they thought that my editor felt like they slowed down the pace at the end. So Alice is there, as helpful as ever. There's a wedding, and but I can see why they felt like you don't need 5 conclusions. I understand why they wanted them out.
Well, I'm going to get chapters for sure.
Thank you.
You see? Just checking. Goodness.
Sorry,
Well, tell me what you're working on now.
What I'm working on now? So the Duchess contract is the little novella, and then Marquis and the Runaway Lady is their eldest son, and their second son is in Debutante with a Dangerous Past, and that comes out August 22nd. And so I've actually been doing some edits with my editor from Harlequin, and she lives in the UK, so it's really fun to just the different perspective. Like they take my manuscript and they make it English formatted, which is always so funny because they use single quotes instead of 2 quotes and other things. And I put crickets in Cookham, and like she's like, there are no crickets in Cookham, and I'm like, sorry, okay, good to know. So they catch any of my silliness.
A London actress did the audio book for my book, The Marquess Meets His Match, and just hearing the pronunciations, because I had always said breeches, a man in his breeches and boots, and she pronounced it britches. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't know. All these, I'm from Canada, so yeah. But so a lot of the London things are familiar to me, being from Canada and whatnot. But yeah.
That's really interesting. I know my mom.
I'm worried you can't hear me. Can you still hear me?
Sorry, you left for a second. Keep going. You're from Canada. A lot of the London things
No, go
were.
ahead. Your mom likes what?
Oh, she loves the
Yeah.
audiobook to Secret of the Sonnets and the narrator, but the narrator says reading instead of reading, and she's like, she got it wrong.
Is your
So,
mom from the UK?
no, no. She just knows I went to school there, so it's kind of like a. Oh, there's one of my children. It's kind of like a little Easter egg. I almost always mention reading in my books
Yeah.
because where I lived.
Has your what was your connection with the UK? Have you always just been fascinated by it?
My dad served an LDS mission in London and just always talked about it. And I think just I loved England. I loved Pride and Prejudice and Sensibility. I got them in a book order when I was like 12, and they were so hard to read at first. And then I remember then one day they became easy. And I don't know if I just got older, if I just read them enough where the language all of a sudden clicked. But this is so funny. I thought it was my own secret little thing, me and Jane Austen. I was horrified in college to realize that so many people knew who she was. I was like, she's mine. Back off. But yeah, the world doesn't revolve around me.
That is so cute. I love that. Oh, fun. Well, what's one fact about you that nobody would know and would be surprised to find out?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a really intriguing question. Um, huh. I'm the same age as my
Eating
character
any
in A
weird
Novel
food?
Disguise. I'm 40, and that's her big thing. Is
You
it starts on her
oh
40th birthday, and she finds a dead body. My 40th birthday was way better than that.
wow.
Sorry, is
Yeah,
that a
that
good
sounds
one?
like a pretty intense birthday.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. I think we're kind of bypassing.
Oh, sorry, I was just agreeing. Yeah, that would be a terrible birthday.
For sure. Well, tell me what you're reading right now. What genres do you read? What's your favorite and what are you reading right now?
I read a little bit of everything. I love historical romance the best. Also, really like fantasy. I like contemporary. I like mysteries. Um, I got several books. I just read. I can see it over here. A Forgery of Roses. It's a fantasy. I really enjoyed it. Um, I guess for sometimes it's easier to be reading what I'm not writing. It's less like pressure.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I love YA
I
fantasy especially, and I love adult romance and adult historical and a good cozy murder mystery. I love all of Rice Bowen's stuff. If you've read her, is that how you say it? Reese Bowen.
I don't know.
Her Royal Spyness series is one of my favorites. So,
Do you have a favorite author of all time or no?
it would probably still be Jane Austen, just because she was so influential when I was young and kind of shaped why I wanted to be an author. Same thing with loosely Maud Montgomery and Louisa Alcott. They were all so influential and they all were authors. And they're characters that were authors. And I just loved Joe March. I loved
Yeah.
Anne Shirley. I just ate them up like cupcakes.
Oh, you and I could be besties. Those are all my favorites too. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming to book club today and telling us more about you and your books. You are definitely going to be on my auto buy list from now on. It was such a great story. I reviewed it in Meridian Magazine this month. And so if
I will
anyone
look
wants
that
to go
up.
and see, yeah, if anyone wants to go see what I thought, it's there. It was wonderful. And the thing I loved about it, and I just have to say that it was so fresh and there was such a twist on it, and I didn't want to in one sitting, but I had to, make dinner and do mom stuff. But it was just that good. So I really, really am so excited that you have more books coming out this year, and I get to read the deleted chapters for signing up to your newsletter. So anyway,
Thank
it
you
was
so
just
much.
such a great book, and thank you for coming on the show for sure. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
No, it's been a pleasure, and it's so fun hanging out with you.
Well, I hope we get to see you again soon, very soon.
I do too.
Thanks, thanks, Samantha, and I'm glad everyone hung with us for all the technical difficulties. But thank you so much. We'll see you next month.